Hello, Sumit. Good afternoon.
Good
How are
afternoon.
you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Yeah, I'm Sumit. So, Sumit, please tell me about yourself.
Yes, sir. So my name is Sumit Mahajan. I did my BTech in civil engineering. Before working in IT industry, I actually worked for 3.5 years as an environment engineer. For the past 2 years, I'm working in IT sector.
Hmm.
For the first 1.5 years, I actually worked as an UI developer. For the past 6 months, I'm working as an Angular developer.
So, on which Angular version do you have worked?
It is Angular 10.
Oh,
Yeah.
so after completing graduation, you work in a civil for around 2 to 3 years, right? Then, why suddenly you change your mind and switch your job into IT?
Yeah. So to be frank, actually, it was a situation because I was actually working as a consultant in Pune, but due to some reason I had to come back to my hometown, and there were some family reasons that I couldn't leave my home for that period
Okay.
of time. So that's why I kind of started looking for work from home jobs, and then I got an opportunity, and I think I liked it, so I kind of transitioned into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. So you told that you are working on Angular from last 6 months, right?
Yeah.
And then why you are changing your current organization?
Actually, I stayed with this organization for 2 years, and I think they gave me opportunity that I needed. But considering the company's actually size is not that bigger, so the project that we get aren't kind of big enough. So for the past 1 month, actually, we are just working on bug solving issues because the project earlier was completed, and there are not
Oh,
we didn't get any new projects right now. So just I thought it is a good time to look for new opportunities.
how much you rate yourself in HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Angular out of 5?
Out of five, I'll say four.
Okay, that's great. Uh, so we will move to our technical questions. Right?
Okay.
What is difference between HTML and HTML5?
So HTML5 is actually the newer version. So very basic difference is that in HTML, actually we didn't have audio or video supports directly. We needed Flash player to use it. In HTML5, we got audio and video tags, so we can use these tags to work on audio and videos. The second major difference was the three basic APIs that we got in HTML5. First one is actually geolocation API. So in HTML, we didn't had the option to kind of get geolocation of the from the browser actually. But
Okay.
with the new API, we can actually get the geolocations. The second one is mainly the storage one. In HTML5, we used cache to store the information. But in HTML5, we have local storage and session storage, which is actually web storage APIs to store the information and data related to the website. And another one is I think drag and drop, which wasn't available in actually HTML, which HTML
Okay.
option.
That's good. Okay. What is the difference between Canvas and SVG?
Canvas and SVG. Oh, I'm actually sorry, I can't remember it at the moment.
Okay, that's okay. What is the difference between inline and block?
Inline and block elements. Okay. So there are four major ways we can kind of differentiate between inline and block elements. The first is element width. So inline elements take the width of its content, while block elements take the whole width of its parents. The second is the starting position of elements. So inline element can start on the same line if the space is available, but the block elements will start on the new line every single time. Third one is height and width. So for inline element, we can provide height and width. We cannot provide height and width, but to block element, we can actually provide height and width as well. The third one is the padding. For inline element, we can actually give only right and left padding. Top and bottom cannot be given to the inline element, but block all four padding can be given. Yeah,
Okay.
so sorry.
What are the CSS selectors we have?
CSS selectors. So we have around like 5 types of selector. So one is basic selector. So in basic selector, we have universal selector, tag selector, class selector, and ID selector. Then we have attribute selector, which actually refer to attributes and its value. Then we have relational selectors, which actually we have inside relation selectors. We have like dependent selectors and sibling selectors. Then we have pseudo class elements, class selectors, and then fifth we have pseudo element selector. So in pseudo class selectors, we actually define a state like hover and focus, and then we apply the CSS to the temporary kind of state. And pseudo element selector kind of refers to the content of that element, and we kind of provide CSS to that.
Okay, that's what is difference between display none and visibility hidden?
Display none and visibility hidden. So when we use display none, the particular element is completely kind of removed from the HTML kind of structure. While in this visibility hidden, it is just hidden from the user perspective, but it stays still in the kind of browser in that particular element. The block stays in that there.
What is wide elements in HTML?
Sorry.
What is wide elements in
Wide
HTML?
element. Sorry, I think I can't remember it at the moment.
What is difference between ID and class?
ID and class. So ID, both are the attributes given to the HTML element. So ID is kind of unique for one element. So we cannot provide like kind of same ID to multiple elements. While class, we can actually use kind of multiple, same class can be used on multiple HTML elements. Value of the class and value of the ID.
What is okay? What is attribute?
What is attribute? So attribute is nothing but an extra information related to that particular HTML element, like class or type or value.
Okay. How to optimize a website or web application?
Website or web application.
How to optimize it?
So we can actually use kind of semantic coding, semantic text.
Okay.
So that can improve kind of readability of web as well as user as well.
Actually, it improves search engine optimization.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Semantic coding. Right?
Yes.
I'm asking optimization. Suppose optimization means your website is a little bit slow in browser. Then how can improve that performance?
Yeah. We can use kind of local storage to store the basic information, so it can actually take the data, required data correctly.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, I'm unable to get that.
Can we display one web page inside another web page?
One web page
inside another web page?
We can use anchor tag to link the external site.
No. I'm not asking about redirecting, right?
Okay.
Suppose you have one web page called index.html, and inside that index.html, can we use another HTML?
I don't think so.
Yeah. We can use with the help of iframe.
Iframe. Okay. Okay. Actually, I did not come across.
Okay. What is difference between link and anchor tag?
Link and anchor tag. So basically, as I said earlier, so anchor tag can be used to kind of give a kind of reference to another website and link it to the HTML element anchor, and it is used in HTML body. While link is the tag to kind of attach a different sheet like style sheet into our HTML document, and it is used in head part of the HTML.
What are the limitations of CSS?
CSS.
Yes.
It is like regarding CSS and CSS3 or in general CSS?
And in general CSS.
In general CSS. So basically we need kind of that particular HTML tag to provide the styling to that particular elements. So while using like we can design CSS, we can design CSS for a particular kind of viewport, and we have to use kind of media queries and other kind of frameworks to make it a responsive something we cannot use directly.
Okay, that's it. What are the preprocessors, CSS preprocessors we have? Do you have work on any CSS preprocessors?
I think not currently actually.
What is mean by VH and VW?
So VH refers to the viewport height. So viewport is nothing but the screen, visibility of screen, and VH refers to the height of that particular screen, and VW refers to the width of the screen.
Is it important to test the web page we have developed in different browsers?
Yes, actually. So currently there are actually many browsers, latest browsers support every kind of version of CSS and HTML and JavaScript, but there are still limitations actually. So we have to, it's better to check.
Apart from the PX unit, right? Actually, we use PX unit for font size, right?
Yes.
Do we have work on any other unit? Font size unit? Yes.
Font size. So there is actually, we directly use like 400, 100, 300 or 700.
No. Those are font weights.
Yes.
Right. Suppose you have paragraph and while styling paragraph, we apply font size is equal to 30 pixel, 40 pixel, right? So I'm asking, do you have work on any other font size unit apart from pixel?
No, actually, I only use pixels.
Okay. There are two other units, REM and EM.
Yes. So it is actually used in Bootstrap. Yeah.
Yes. What is meant by responsive designing, RWD?
So responsive designing is actually kind of, we can say ki it is mainly related to the viewport of the website actually. So because there are kind of, now we can use website on mobile as well. So with the screen sizes actually differ. So responsive web design is kind of, we can say we create the website for desktop as well as kind of smaller screen. So even if the screen sizes or changes, or even kind of functionality should remain same, you can say that.
Okay. What are the positions we have in CSS?
CSS. So there are 5 positions actually. So first is static, which is kind of default positioning of the CSS. The second one is position relative, and third one is position of absolute. Fourth one is position fixed, and fifth one is sticky.
What is sticky?
So basically, sticky is kind of merging between fixed and position relative. So the position of an element will remain static as long as it satisfies a condition. Like we can give static kind of positioning to the HTML element and define it should become kind of fixed after satisfying a certain condition, like
okay.
the top. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay. What is display flex?
Display flex.
Yes.
So it is actually Bootstrap 4 version. It is nothing but to kind of move the element or change its position.
Actually, it's not Bootstrap property or Bootstrap program. It is a module which is introduced in CSS.
Okay.
And Bootstrap 4 uses display.
Display flex. Yes.
Suppose I have 2 views. One is a parent view and one is child view. And I want to bring that child view at the center of parent, horizontally and vertically.
Yes. So we have to provide display flex property to the parent element. And for the parent element, we can use justify content center and align item center. So it will apply to the kind of elements, child elements of that parent element.
What are the data types we have in JavaScript?
So we can divide all the data types in two major categories. So first is primitive and second is non-primitive. So primitive data types are like number, boolean, string, and null, undefined, and non-primitive data types are function, object. Yeah.
What is hoisting?
Hoisting. So whenever we declare, hoisting is nothing but the declaration goes top at the kind of top of that scope, actually, window scope. All the declaration go top of the scope.
Okay. What is scope?
Sorry.
What is scope? Scope.
Scope. Okay. Sorry. So scope. So we actually scope is nothing but anything that comes under the kind of. There are two types of global scope and actually functional scope. So global is nothing but all the declaration can be used everywhere throughout the scope actually. And functional scope are nothing but the scope which comes under the particular function. So any declaration inside a function scope cannot be used outside. So we can define that.
What is difference between equal to and strictly equal to?
Equal to and strictly equal to.
Yeah.
So equal to checks only the value. So if we write one in string and one is in number, so it shows that the answer will show that it is true for both the cases. So it just checks the value. When we use strictly equal to, the data types has to match as well. So the same like string one and number one would show like not equal. So false. We'll give it false.
What is higher order function?
Higher order function. So when we use a function as a parameter in another function, so it is called as higher order function.
And what is callback function?
So there are callback function. So when a function is, when a function is used as a parameter, it is called as callback function. And higher order function is
okay. That's it.
I got confused in that.
Okay. What is the by default nature of JavaScript? Is it synchronous or asynchronous?
It is synchronous.
Okay. And when the behavior of JavaScript have to be asynchronous?
So basically, mostly when we are actually using kind of APIs like to get the data from a server or something, it has to.
So,
yeah.
So how you handle the synchronous behavior of JavaScript?
So actually, ES6 actually gave us a direct method, but before ES6 we used like callback functions. So like there were like nested functions inside a function, and then we used to kind of use a callback function after completing that particular certain action. But with ES6 we got promise actually. So the promise is nothing but a JavaScript object which returns a value in the future. So in promise, actually, there are 4 states. So basically pending, resolve, reject, and then settled. So when we say pending, that means we, at this time, we did not get any result. So that is like still pending state. And then there is second state, which is resolve. That means the action is completed and we actually got like, we can say true result. So what we wanted and that exact result we got. Then there is reject. So basically, whatever the condition we put in the promise, we did not fulfill and it got rejected. So that is the reject one. And the fourth settle, that means is nothing but actually we got something back. So that we can say reject. So we actually use promise because with callback functions, the problem was the structure of the particular function got very complicated. So difficult to track of like every functions. Like error handling as well, it got very difficult. because we have to look for many kind of functions inside functions. With the promise, actually, we resolved all these drawbacks actually.
Okay. What is difference between slice and splice?
Slice and splice. So basically, slice we use when we want to kind of shorten and particular array. So slice gives another array, but with shorter version, and we just use kind of the index number and how many elements we need to. Sorry, index number, and we just get cut. The whole array get cuts from there. So with splice, actually, we can use splice for remove, add, or doing both the actions. So and it takes like index number, the elements that needed to be removed, and values that needed to be added as well.
What is nan?
Sorry,
What is nan?
is none. Oh, sorry. Okay, so nan is nothing but not a number actually.
Is nan. I'm asking about is nan function.
Is nan function.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think I can't remember it at the moment. Yeah, is nan. Okay. Yeah. I think okay. I think it looks for if the particular kind of variable is not number or not, maybe.
What is difference between set timeout and set interval?
Set timeout and set interval. Okay.
Yes.
So set timeout we use when we want to call a function after certain period, certain time actually, and it takes the callback function and the time after which the function needs to be executed. While set interval, when we use the set interval when we want to call the function after a particular set of time repeatedly. So it takes the callback function and the time, and after the time it gets called back again and again.
Why? What is event bubbling and event capturing?
So event bubbling and event capturing. Sorry, actually.
What are the new features we have in ES6?
ES6. So basically, there are many new features were added. The one is main is object-oriented programming. Second one is string interpolation. Third one is, as I said, promise. Fourth one is async and await. And then it was again, sorry, fifth one is arrow function. And there was like local scope, late and constant.
What is the difference between late, const, and var?
Late, constant, and var. So basically, before ES6, we used to use var for declaring variables. So var we can use like three categories to kind of differentiate between these three. So var can create functional and global scope, but with the introduction of kind of late and constant, we actually started creating a local scope for that particular function. And the second one is hoisting. So basically, all the three actually kind of follow the hoisting rule, but in late and constant, we actually get an error saying that we cannot use the particular declaration before initializing it. And third major one is variable can be reassigned and redeclared. While late, we can reassign, but we cannot redeclare it. And constant variables cannot be reassigned and redeclared.
What is IFI?
IFI, IFI, I think is stands for immediately invoked function expression. So basically, we can write a function expression and call it right after defining it. Yeah.
What is this keyword?
This.
Yeah.
So this keyword mostly we actually got introduced in constructor function. So this represent like its parent of that particular element.
What is closure?
closure. Yes. So to explain it in like particular, like in a function way. So there was we can actually functions can use declarations from the global scope. But when we have like local scope or functional scope, we cannot reuse it. So there were certain conditions when in a function we kind of needed to use a declaration from a global scope, but we needed to make sure that declaration should stay private. So developers come across kind of a concept. They used a function inside a function. So basically, the outer function created its own local scope, which is called as lexical scope. And inside that, we declared the particular declaration. Then we used inside a function, so main function. So main function would use that particular declaration, but outside that outer function, it remained as a private. And the outer function would return the definition of the main function actually. So that structure actually is kind of closure. Yeah. I guess it was a bit confusing. Yeah. So
what is currying function?
Currying. So basically, if a function is returning another function, and both have a parameter actually declared. So while calling it, like we take one argument to call the first function, and in return it gives another function which required another argument. So kind of that particular structure is called as currying.
So I have passed one statement in chat section. Please copy that in your editor and share your screen.
Okay. Is it okay if I use Visual Studio Code?
Yeah. That's
No. Is my screen visible?
yes.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Okay. What will be the output?
Okay. So it will actually give string minus 20. Not a number. It should give not a number.
Okay. Are you sure?
Yes.
Copy that statement and open the browser. Open developer.
Yes.
Print A. Just console A.
Achha, okay.
You are declared declaration A, right?
Yeah.
Just type A.
Okay.
Don't need to.
99.
99.
But when we are okay, so the second one was string, so it got converted into number.
Yeah. So first number is number, second is string.
String,
So
okay.
that is 1010.
1010.
And after that, we are using minus operator.
20. Yeah.
So there is question, but in reverse direction.
Okay.
String is converted into number.
So if it was a string first, it was gets
Yes.
converted into string. Yes. Okay.
Exactly. Okay. I have given condition or scenario, like you have to write a function. Suppose you have an array, right?
Okay.
You have given array. Will you please copy that in your editor? Possible? Comment all.
Yeah. Yes.
So you have given array 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7, right?
Yes.
And you have to write a function which accept two arguments. One is array and second is rotation, right? And if you pass the value of rotation parameter is 3, so that function is supposed to do 3 rotations. Like the last number should be come in the place of first
Okay,
number.
it should get shifted. Okay.
Yeah, it should get shifted at the first place, last. If
Okay.
value of rotation is 1, then only last number should be get shifted at first position for only once.
So first rotation, all the elements will move once only. Second
Yes.
rotation, they will move 2 places, and
Yes.
third 3. Okay. So I'll just thinking about it. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Hello. So actually, I'm not sure, but I'll just see if
Okay.
I get the value.
Okay, that's
I cannot figure it out at this moment.
What is temporary dead zone?
Temporary dead zone.
Temporal dead zone, yes.
Sorry, actually, I cannot remember it.
What is pass by value and pass by reference?
Pass by value and pass by reference. So pass by value means we can actually kind of reassign the value, and pass by reference actually we can say that it is like holding a value and holding a reference kind of it. So reference means that even if we reassign it to another variable, any changes to the next variable would actually automatically reflect in the first one as well. So that means that we are kind of referencing it, and assigning value means the value gets assigned to the new variable, kind of that.
Just a minute. I am passing one array
Yes.
in chat section. Please copy this array in your folder.
Yes.
So this is the array of frogs, right?
Okay.
And you have to create a new array whose gender is female and whose age is less than or equal to 7.
Age is less than or equal to 7.
Less than or equal to 7.
Okay. Okay, fine. Less than or equal to 7. Okay. Yeah.
Can you find out total age of frogs whose gender is male and whose weight is greater than 8?
Can you just repeat it once again?
Yeah. You have to calculate ages of frogs whose gender is male and weight is greater than or equal to 8.
Greater than or equal to 8.
Yeah, actually, I don't want array. I want
just a number.
Yes, number, ages. Calculate ages, total ages of
ages. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay, that's all. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Right?
I
But
just have
yeah,
put
you
it
can
inside.
do it more easily, right? You can chain another method on filter method
Reduce.
at reduce. Yeah,
Yes. I was just kind of
it should
foggy
be.
with the reduce idea, so I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
went for
It's supposed to be use reduce method
yes,
on filter.
filter.
That, that's all.
Okay.
Sumit, I have done from my side. Do you have any question for me?
Okay. Uh, so just I would love to have your feedback actually on how my interview went and the areas I need to kind of work on.
Yeah.
It will help me in
Uh,
future.
okay. I think theoretically you are good, but you have to some hands-on practice on algorithms and coding.
Okay. Okay.
The
Yes.
more specific area you should improve is data structure.
Data structure. Okay. Yes.
Otherwise, you are good in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I will
Okay.
definitely work on it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Have a good day.
Thank you, sir. You too.